Hey everybody, it's me, your friend Dan. Quick message before the show gets started. If you haven't joined Stitcher Premium yet, now, right this very second, minute, moment, hour is the perfect time. Stitcher Premium gets you ad-free episodes of hundreds of shows like Comedy Bang Bang, WTF with Mark Maron. Huge guest on that show, by the way. Love WTF. And How Did This Get Made? I'm a fan of this show. It's a lot of cool stories, really worth listening to. You also get 21,000 hours of exclusive content. New exclusive originals like Marvel's Wolverine and Issa Rae's Fruit are launching every week for Stitcher Premium members. If you love podcasts and you're not on Stitcher Premium, you really are missing out. When you listen to ad-free episodes, by the way, in Stitcher Premium, your favorite podcasters, and this is going to sound impossible, but they get paid. Yes, I know. A wonderful, wonderful thing for podcasters. Help support your favorite shows and join Stitcher Premium today. For a free month of listening, go to StitcherPremium.com. That's STITCHER Premium, PREMIUM.com, and use the promo code VERBAL, VERBAL. That's it. Let's get into the episode.
Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Oh, yes! Welcome to the show. No Ty, that's why my voice is right up front. He's moving homes, or he bought a house. He's starting to move his stuff into said house, and this week has been quite hectic for him. I can tell you this, they've put in new flooring, and it looks great. Really, really solid new. I think it's hardwood flooring, and I've seen pictures of the house. Ty and Solid Wife Kate are doing a bang-up job. He's building out the new studio probably as we speak. So I decided to turn to a guest, not really a guest host, but having a guest on to talk really whatever I want now that I have been placed in charge of this show. And so we're bringing in our new pal, Mike Golic Jr. from ESPN Radio. He's been all over the place because obviously we used him as our patsy for last week's Secret Verbal, in which many of you tweeted at him, congratulating him on his new collaboration with LaCroix, the sparkling water giant. He was dumbfounded and confused by untraceable tweets regarding a beverage collaboration, but nonetheless honored. So I sent him a message and asked if he would come on to talk college football and beverages. And lo and behold, we're friends now, and that's amazing. So we had a good time speaking. It's going to start momentarily, but before it does, just some quick housekeeping, other than the fact that Ty is literally housekeeping as we speak with Solid Wife Kate. We are going to be releasing merch. This show is being recorded. If you're not paying attention, in mid-May, we're going to be releasing merch, hopefully by the end of May, if not early to mid-June. We promise, we swear. There are going to be shirts, plural. There are going to be hats. There are going to be, I'm pushing for mugs, but a more robust store. I think it's going to be more dependable than previous offerings in terms of you order, it gets shipped, and there are no issues. Fingers crossed. I can't make promises, but it appears that it's going to be more dependable. So we're very excited about that. The designs are really good. This is going to be sort of a fluid thing. We're going to be adding to the store every so often. I'm hoping with some school-related stuff for people to enjoy their tribal rooting interests. Always fun. So we are quite excited about the store that we're going to be launching soon. The live show is still on for Chicago. We just need to figure out where it's going to be in Chicago. And once again, we've narrowed it down to a couple of places, but by all means, it's not too late. If you have any suggestions for us in Chicago, that will be in mid-August. That'll be our Fantasy Things draft. It'll be a great time. We've sold out the past couple shows nearly immediately, so it's getting bigger and better. We will have guests. We'll have a ton of fun. There will be drinks. There will be food. It is can't miss if you are, I guess, in the greater Chicagoland area or beyond in the Midwest, because everything's a lot closer than I knew growing up in California because everything is so far away. So we hope to see you there, and we're going to try our best to add a couple of other live show dates around the country around the beginning of the season, late summer as well. So keep on the lookout for that, and those details will be announced via the newsletter of intent. You can sign up for that on solidverbal.com. We will be releasing newsletters throughout the season and with information about live shows. So do check that out. And This is not an official announcement, but you should know that Ty and I are talking about adding a bunch of new elements this fall. And if you are interested in taking a survey, if you are an enthusiastic listener and consumer of all things Solid Verbal, we really do want your feedback as to how you consume the show and how you listen and where you listen and what you're interested in, as a college football media fan. So let us know if you're interested in filling out like a 2-minute survey so we can have a better idea of how to better serve anybody that is interested and enjoys listening to the Solid Verbal. And that's it. That's everything I have. It's getting warm in New York and I'm wearing pants, and that was a big, big mistake. So let's get into it. Mike Golic Jr. from ESPN, the greatest of sports. Here we go. And with that, it is my immense pleasure, especially since Ty, Mr. Notre Dame, is not on today's show, to bring in from ESPN, ESPN Radio, ESPN.com. He's a personality, he's a talker, and a Notre Dame alum. Mike Golic Jr., how's life?
Life is good. I can't complain. A talker is probably the best and most apt way to describe me. Like, that's what I always tell people. I got into this business because I can't shut up, and so I need someone to pay me to do that. Fair.
Same. And we had a little bit of, we've never met as far as I think we know. And we just decided, and this is something we do on the show called The Secret Verbal, to, if somebody is still listening at the end of a very long, pointless show, to have our listeners tweet at somebody we like, so generally connected to the college football world, which you most certainly are, a random, inoffensive message that is very confusing and completely untraceable. And last week, we had everybody congratulate you on your upcoming collaboration with sparkling water giant LaCroix. How is that?
Let me tell you what, first off, I really need to now make this happen with the LaCroix people because 100%. I've got some great flavor ideas that I think we can enact. But this is a testament to you because you have a lot of people that stick around and listen late into the podcast. I thought I was the victim of some sort of like Russian bot scandal where they had honed in on me and just had the keyword LaCroix thrown in there. Mm-hmm. I was baffled until I saw you guys start tweeting at me. So job well done. You got a great podcast here.
Yes. Do you like LaCroix? Do you like sparkling water? Is this something that made sense on any level for you?
No, I mean, couldn't be more off brand, but that being said, I'm willing to roll with it. Like, there are very few things I'm ever going to admit are outside of my umbrella. So LaCroix is something I just didn't know was underneath the umbrella until then, but I'm happy to have it in here. It's found a safe harbor with everything else that I consume, which is a lot.
Sure. What is your beverage of choice for something like a soft drink or water, something refreshing during the day that you would want to sip on like a summer porch or poolside or something like that?
Iced coffee. Oh. I do it like all during, like, it's not even a summer day. Like, and myself, Randy Scott, who works at ESPN, and a couple of our friends of the worldwide leader have taken to adopting cold brew as a year-round beverage. A lot of people shy away from it during Bristol winters, but I'm not amongst that. I want to be able to basically shotgun every coffee that I drink, and so I'm staring at a newly finished venti cold brew from Starbucks right now, and that would probably be the number one thing you'd be most likely to see me drinking on any given day.
I knew there was electricity between this show and you, because I am also team iced coffee or cold brew year round. I find it refreshing no matter the temperature, and it's actually something we've discussed on the show. Do you know what a coffee nap is?
A coffee nap?
A coffee nap, NAP.
I do not.
Okay. So basically, and this is what we'll do during I'll speak for myself. What I'll do during the college football season is when there is that window where there's a lull, where games aren't ending or there's not a huge game happening. Usually it's in like the 3:45, 4:20 p.m. window Eastern time. What you do is you basically chug an iced coffee and then you take like a 20-minute nap, because 20 minutes is the amount of time it takes for caffeine to get into your bloodstream and affect you and give you that jolt. So when you couple that with a 20-ish minute nap, when you wake up, you are shot out of a cannon and you are ready for Pac-12 games until 2 a.m. It's incredible.
I think you honestly just changed my life.
Yes!
Like, as someone who has tinkered with various nap schedules because of the early morning hours of my shows, this revelation is enough to like honestly optimize my performance in a way that I didn't know existed right now. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for this revelation.
It is truly my honor to change your life. And with that, it is incredible. It really is. You pop out of there and you are ready for that 3:30 Eastern or that weird SEC ESPN 2, like South Carolina, Missouri. It's not quite prime time, but it's just like your focus becomes laser like. It's incredible.
That really is. It's the perfect supercharger. This is a hell of a day right now. I'm marking this one down in the diary.
Please keep us posted as for how it works out during the season. It would be an honor to find out. So, with that, you cover college football among other sports, but obviously your background having played for Notre Dame as recently as, I want to say you were there 2012?
2012, that was my last fall on campus.
Okay, so that makes you, are you 26? Are you 25?
28.
Oh my God. Are you really 28?
Yeah.
Okay, so 28, so you would have been 20, I don't even remember what year it is. You would have been 22 in 2012. So you're a college football guy. This is a college football podcast, and I think it's always dumb when people have very serious conversations in the middle of May. So I'm going to ask you as broad a question as I can. What are you excited for this fall? What has your juices going other than coffee naps as it relates to the 2018 season?
Yeah, other than coffee naps, I mean, for me right now, and especially coming off draft season, this is sort of an easy thing to pluck from. But all we've started to see, like the most hilarious thing in May, like you said, is to already start predicting next year's draft. Mm-hmm. But you look at, because our draft experts are forced to put out these mocks because they're chained in a room and it's demanded of them by our experts and higher-ups. Mm-hmm. So they pump out these lists, and it's so flooded with these unbelievable defensive linemen that we know we're all either underclassmen or guys that decided to come back, like the entire Clemson defensive line, basically. So to see this year's onslaught of defensive linemen, because I think last year, especially on the interior, you saw a lot of really quality offensive linemen that ended up going out in the draft. I mean, we had maybe the most talked about guard in the history of college football, at least in the last, in my lifetime, and Quentin Nelson coming out. But just in general, I thought there was a lot of quality on that front, and I think this year so much of that focus shifts over to the defensive front, and just to get to see those guys, someone who tends to hone in on that area in general, in addition to having played offensive line, I vote on the Joe Moore Award, which is the college football award awarded to the top offensive line unit in the sport. And so I spend a lot of time just focused on that area in general. So to see some of those battles and some of the premier conferences in college football this year is going to be a lot of fun.
Okay. Anywhere outside of the defensive line, any teams, any new coaches, any returning quarterbacks, any storylines that, you have no idea what's going to happen that, has already started tickling the back of your brain?
I mean, the one I'm personally most concerned about is Shea Patterson. Now, happy for him as someone who's always a proponent of college football player rights and watched him struggle this offseason to secure eligibility for this fall. Seeing him get that, warms my heart in that sense, but also makes me very nervous as a Notre Dame fan who knows that rivalry's back on and has enjoyed watching Michigan struggle under Jim Harbaugh at the quarterback position for the last few years. So knowing they've got a more potent passer certainly is a bit unnerving as we get ready to set that rivalry back up. But as far as quarterback, I'm excited to watch for this season just because I got a chance to cover them when they played at Kansas State. But Will Grier in West Virginia, football Jesus, who unfortunately trimmed the locks, just such a talented arm and a guy in that West Virginia offense with Dana Holgorsen that was so potent last season, and knowing he's going to be another one of those guys that probably climbs draft boards as we look forward towards this season. I think seeing what him in West Virginia and that offense are capable of doing and how that improves the conversation around him through this season is going to be fun to watch.
Did you see, I want to say there's a West Virginia receiver who was arrested and there's a mugshot up that it is such an intense mullet that it may make up for Will Grier cutting that hair. If you haven't seen it, I could not more enthusiastically recommend it.
I am currently Google searching this right now.
I forgot his name. West Virginia mullet football receiver. God, Google's going to have data on me that I'm not. It's Anthony Del Percio. This happened 19 hours ago, and there's so much business on the front. It's like a startup, essentially, in the front, and a never-ending party in the back. And he has a grin, ear to ear, and is wearing black framed glasses. Wow.
Yeah, no, it is. I have just locked in on this, and wow, that is maybe the truest. It's almost like a bowl cut in the front. It's terrifying and beautiful.
That's exactly right. I have a couple questions because I'm always curious about this. For whatever reason, I get along with former offensive linemen better than any other position group. What weight did you check in at Notre Dame when out of high school?
At Notre Dame, coming out of high school, I was a 275-pound interior offensive lineman, which, as you can imagine, required a lot of work when I got on campus to change.
So what did you play at? What weight?
I played at probably 295 in college and left school right around 300.
Okay. How did you put on the 25 pounds?
A lot of peanut butter sandwiches and a lot of eating on the clock. Like, you learn, one of the early messages I got on working with, like dietitians and people in that realm is you don't eat when you're hungry, because at that point you've already failed. You eat on the clock. So wow. I spent the better part of 5 years eating every 2.5 hours on the clock and trying to get as close to, between 5,000 and 5,500 calories a day as I could. So it was much to I would always complain about it to my mom and sister, who didn't want to hear anything that I had to say, because I was doing what they wanted to do in life, which is trying to gain weight and eating basically whatever I wanted. But you just dreaded looking at food. Like, you showed up to every meal still tasting the last meal or snack and basically trying not to puke on your plate.
Did you do the wake up in the middle of the night or right before bed thing, peanut butter sandwich? I've heard a couple offensive linemen talk about that sort of fat discipline.
Oh, yeah. No, it was that. Like, my freshman year roommate got a real kick out of it. And he's a guy I'm still real close with who played lacrosse at Notre Dame. But in our freshman dorm, underneath my bed, I had a loaf of bread, a jar of peanut butter, and a big drum of weight gainer protein that I would set an alarm and wake up either early in the morning or late at night, depending on what your read on it was, and just slam one or two of those real quick before I went back to bed and got up for morning workouts. So it was part of the ritual that didn't necessarily endear me right away to a roommate that was trying to sleep, but it was part of the dream.
So I don't know what you weigh now, obviously. I imagine it's less. Most offensive linemen go in one of two directions. I've seen pictures of you. I've seen you on screens. It appears you weigh less than 300 pounds. Was taking off the weight as simple as not eating peanut butter sandwiches like it was your job, or was there something else?
Yeah, no, it was pushing away from the table. Like, when I finished, I did a couple of training camps in the NFL. My last camp was with the New Orleans Saints in 2015. I got cut right at the beginning of September, and I left camp there at 305. I had been between 305 and 310 for most of my time out of college. And that fall, once I decided that, I'm done trying effing to play football now, I'm going to, let this go away, I just stopped eating 5,500 calories a day and dropped 20 pounds like it was nothing. That was nice. So I got to like 275 and kind of hit a holding pattern there. And since then I've had to work a little bit more at it, start to really focus on diet. So I'm probably 255 right now. I've been hovering around there for a bit. So it's getting to a comfortable weight. Listen, as a former lineman, like, you still have that bit of ego where you don't ever want to be a small guy necessarily, but that was the advice I heard from, guys like Jeff Saturday who are in the building, or Mark Schlereth. Like, you either lose the weight right away when you're still relatively young, or you're going to have a lot more difficulty losing it as time goes on.
So what were you doing once you hit the weight to maintain in college? Was it just hitting the calorie marks, or was there something else?
Yeah, no, I mean, to some extent, you're really playing a numbers game, right? Like, especially as a college athlete with the schedule you're on, most of your day is a weight training portion, some sort of conditioning, and then practice. So you're burning so much that in order to stay above that mark, you've got to just basically make the math problem work. And the challenge in that is, all right, I want to do that, but I also want to put on weight the right way. I want to take the off seasons to build lean muscle mass. And so I was fortunate. Kyle Rudolph, who was a teammate of mine at Notre Dame, came from Cincinnati, where he worked with a guy by the name of Brian Weefering, who was a great asset to us was a guy that is a dietitian and helps train a lot of people. And so I was able to get a lot of information at an early age before, Notre Dame and a lot of other schools started putting those people on staff that could really be an asset. I go back now and I see the nutritionists on staff at Notre Dame, and it's such a gift for these guys, but we didn't really have that same resource when I was there. So we were fortunate to get to learn through an outside resource and really, because of that, find ways to make sure, all right, if I'm going to hit these calorie marks, I can do it in ways like you get calorie-dense foods that don't make you quite as full, and you're not putting on this like sloppy, god-awful weight all at once.
So what was that? What's calorie-dense without the mass?
I mean, a lot of it is like finding tricks. Like, when I would have like carb dishes, it's putting a lot of olive oil on top because it's super calorie rich. Wow. It's almonds and beef jerkies. It's, well-timed shakes. I was, in the shakes, you're using heavy whipping cream to try and load up and just make those more calorie dense, vitamin D milk, stuff like that. Anywhere where in a form that's quick to get in, because a lot of it, gaining weight is mind games. Like if you're eating something that requires a lot of bites or a lot of work to ingest, it's going to feel like more, and it's going to weigh you down and bog you down mentally, where as if it's something you can basically mainline in, it helps just more than anything keep you mentally on track for what becomes a lot of that process. Is just making sure you're so dialed into eating on the clock, making sure you're hitting whatever the best protein for you at that time period is, the amount of carb to protein ratio you want on your plate, all these things that, again, I was fortunate to get someone who was a real strong guiding hand early on.
Fair enough. And on the subject of flavors, and by the way, no calories, just to connect two things we've already spoken about. If you are to, I'm told, I haven't actually done this, but according to Stephen Godfrey, dear friend of the show, if you combine coconut flavored LaCroix with iced coffee, it's apparently delicious and refreshing and just like a touch of that island lifestyle.
Oh, wow. The
sparkling water coconut LaCroix combined with iced coffee. It's called a Pensacola, which is just a phenomenal name for a drink. I have to recommend it. Everybody says it's fantastic. So take that away.
Man, you guys... With the coffee nap, I was going to say, you guys have given me every coffee trip in the book. For someone who lives my life only as, like, I'm the sum total of the amount of coffee in me at any given time.
Of course.
You guys have upped my game significantly. So, again, this has been an enriching experience for me.
I am nothing if not somebody who prides myself on imparting nuggets. I appreciate fun learning nuggets about people. I like imparting nuggets. And with that, I have a very short but always fascinating game show that I like to play with people in person, on road trips, whatever. But since you haven't been on the show, since you're relatively new to college football media, it's been 2 or 3 years. You've done a fantastic job, obviously. I have very specific life situations that I'm going to try to figure out if you have found yourself in these. And I'm going to see how well I now know you after learning minimal amounts of things about you. Do you understand? And are you ready?
Exciting. Yeah, no, I think I understand as best I'm going to. So let's fire this up. I'm excited to see what specific life situations I don't even remember being involved in.
Okay, these are all created today. So, have you done a cannonball off a diving board in the past year? I'm going to say yes.
A cannonball off a diving board in the past year? I would say no. I have not been to a pool with a diving board in the last year. Now, if you want to sub in off a pontoon boat, then we're cooking with gas, because I have for sure done that at one of various lakes that I frequented. But if we're going to make the diving board a sticking point, I got to go no on this one.
I'm going to count it. Pontoon boat is excellent. Lake pontoon cannonball definitely counts.
Hell yes.
Have you broken a limb in a non-football context? I'm going to say for sure.
You know what? Knock on wood. This is the one thing I have managed to avoid, and it is my right now, my only goal in life. Like, as soon as I finished playing athletics at any level, I said, I cannot afford to be the guy that gets injured, because I go back every year. Notre Dame does this thing called fantasy camp, where all of these, CEOs and people with normal jobs who are just huge fans pay a massive sum of money to come back and have our coaches scream at them. It is the true testament of how insane our fans are. But every year, some 65-year-old guy who's the CEO of a Fortune 500 company breaks an ankle or pops an Achilles or tears an ACL and then has to go back and explain to the people that they work with right now. I am trying to avoid being that guy at 28 right now, walking into ESPN, having to explain a cast now that I've stopped playing sports.
You have in your life been ziplining. I'm going to say no, only because I don't know about weight requirements.
Yeah, no, that's been an issue. I have not been ziplining. The one place I managed to somehow dodge this, and it wasn't my choice, was at the Super Bowl this year because they had the zip line set up in the Mall of America, and I was supposed to, with Mina Kimes, who works and writes for us at ESPN, the magazine,
sure,
I was supposed to go and do the zip line on air for the Dan Levitard show as a hit because, why wouldn't that show do something like
Obviously.
that? So I missed out on the zip line there and thus made you right, which is my real goal in all this.
You've dropped a phone in a toilet. I'm going to say yes.
Oh, yeah, that's 100%. Mostly because I set so many of them on top of the urinal when I'm, in those settings. So
tantalizing.
That just comes with the territory.
You've worked in food service. I will say no.
All right. Well, it depends on how loosely you define work, because as a high schooler, we were raising money for our football team to go away for training camp off site for a weekend. And so they sent us to help raise money for this to work at Six Flags. And my job was to make the cones at the ice cream stand. So I don't know if that counts or not.
Oh, it definitely counts.
It was awesome because I smelled like waffle cones all day and I got to take hits from the ice cream machine basically whenever I wanted.
Go Irish. Go offensive lineman.
Hey, how about you?
You have ditched or been ditched in the middle of a first date?
In the middle of a first date? No. That's the thing, though, is like dating is such a weird phenomenon to me. Like I was talking about this with someone that I am currently dating. Like I didn't go on a lot of like official dates. Like I tend to meet people in groups because for as much as I talk, I'm very awkward in one-on-one scenarios when I don't know someone. So I always need like that group dynamic to help me through. But as a result, I have not been ditched on a first date. I can proudly wear that. You
can drive stick shift. I say no.
You are correct. That's my secret shame, by the way. I was again shamed by the woman that I'm currently dating. She can drive stick and I cannot. So that's going to be a big hurdle to overcome. Like I've got to learn this summer, or else I risk being completely, completely shamed in front of her family when I finally meet them.
You were some kind of prom or homecoming king, prince, something in high school. I'm going to say yes. I think you probably stood out as being a larger person. You were an athlete. You talk a lot. So you probably were somewhat popular and knew a bunch of people. So I feel like your presence probably lent you to being honored in that way.
Unfortunately, I was not. And I have a huge bone because it wasn't like I lacked for friends or anything in high school. But you know what else I was let out of that really pissed me off? You know those superlatives they do in the yearbook?
For sure.
I did not get most athletic at my high school. Like I went to of all the kids that went to my high school, I went to a pretty damn good Division I institution and somehow managed to get skated by someone. We had a good basketball team, so I get it. You throw some love that way, but I felt like I got kind of robbed on that one.
You prefer a burrito bowl to a wrapped burrito, and I'm going to say yes because I've heard this from two different now retired linemen. You can stack extra meat higher in a bowl situation.
See, this is very, very true. I've been team bowl ever since I learned about that. You can always get them to give you more. And that's the key too, is they can charge you for double meat. They cannot charge you for adding more rice. So you can add as much carbs as you want to that bowl and you're good to go. You can really pack a lot into that sucker.
So much insight. You have gone in to get a tattoo. If people have not seen you wearing short sleeves or no shirt, you have a number of tats. You have gone in to get a tattoo and bailed at the last second because your idea was like, you know what? Maybe this isn't the best. I'm going to say yes.
That's actually a no. And Actually, you might get off on a technicality on this one. Yes, you know what? This happened one time. I have a standing offer because, as you said, like I have a full sleeve on my right arm, a half sleeve on my left, a tattoo on my chest. I've committed to a lifestyle, and so I always offer my friends. I say, if you're going to get a tattoo, if you're going to get your first tattoo, I'll go with you and kind of walk you through the experience because it can be kind of daunting at these shops. They're kind of set up to look gruff, even though everyone is usually very welcoming inside. So I always offer, I say, I'll go with you for your first one. And if you really want, I'll get a tattoo with you because what's one more? If I get a small tattoo, it's a drop in the bucket. Like I really am not married to some of the smaller portions of skin on my body. And I went with one of my friends to go get one, and I was all primed to get one with her, and I just couldn't commit to the one idea that I kind of thought of in my head, and I was like, you know what? It would take up more time in our day. I'm just going to punt on this one. So yes, you are actually right on this one.
I can appreciate that. In college, you obviously played on the Notre Dame offensive line, but happenstance determined that you have recorded a tackle, either by special teams or after a turnover or some unforeseen scenario. I'm going to say no, because the odds are slim. Have you recorded a tackle?
The odds are slim, and you know what? I would have to check the stat books. I got close a couple of times because I was on the dreaded punt shield, which in modern college football, I believe is the worst thing to happen to the game because it has forced offensive linemen to be on the field for a play that we should never be out there for. And all it did was take years off my life having some linebacker run straight into my neck. But it also put me in these situations where I was like the half tackle guy. Like I probably have a half tackle recorded somewhere. I had one instance where I was one-on-one with a punt returner from Tulsa. I don't remember his name, but we had identified him. He was a great punt returner that season, and it was me and him one-on-one, and I'm trying to use the sideline as an extra man and all this stuff, and he jumps out of bounds right as I dive, and I land face first on the sideline, grabbing nothing but air in front of all the Tulsa linemen over there, and they just stand up there like, dude, there was nothing you were going to do on that one. I was like, yeah, you're probably right.
Fair. You were an academic All-American. You have finished a New York Times crossword puzzle. I'm going to say yes. Notre Dame, a tough institution, brings out the intellectual side of people. I'm going to say you have finished a New York Times crossword puzzle.
I have finished a New York Times crossword puzzle. I actually have the New York Times crossword puzzle app, so I'll dabble in those every once in a while. Most of it's competitive nature because Mina Kimes, one of my colleagues I mentioned, is like a crossword puzzle savant in the New York Times. She is some sort of warlock, so I tried to get on there and see if I could get anywhere close, and I was humbled very quickly.
As we speak, you have a sweet or sugared cereal in a cabinet or in your wherever you live.
I do not, unfortunately, right now.
I was going to say yes, but okay.
Yeah, no, listen, it's one of those things where now as I am an adult and live by myself and as, like you said, been trying to lose weight, I just realized that if I don't buy things, I can't eat them. So if I don't buy those sugary cereals, I can't consume them because I eat cereal a box at a time. I have no self-control with cereal at all. So I just have to keep it far out of my reach.
Here's my final, and this is always a fan favorite, and it's going to require you to look at your phone. So I'll understand if you're silent for a couple seconds, or maybe you'll just know this off the top of your head. Do you have more than 3 Brandons in your address book? I am going to say definitely.
More than 3 Brandons. You know what? Off the top of my head, Brandon is my most recent call.
Wow.
I have exactly 3 Brandons in my phone book.
Oh my God. It's a tough one. There's some people, a friend of mine is from Massachusetts and went to college in Maine. And so we asked her about Chad or Brad or something like that. And it went over as you know, the waspier and preppier the name, the better. And so 3 Brandons is solid. I don't think I have 3 Brandons. That was the name I just decided. It felt like a very Notre Dame mid-2000s era name. I don't know why. I guess the quarterback's name is Brandon. That'll do it.
Well, he's actually one of them in there, and the other Brandon was a former defensive tackle teammate of mine at Notre Dame. So 2 of the 3 Brandons are Notre Dame Brandons. Yes. So you are correct in your assessment.
Same page. All right, we'll end it with this. We'll end it with Notre Dame thoughts, since obviously you're following the Irish and you played there and your heart is there, I assume. Notre Dame returns a lot on defense. Obviously, offensively, things sort of went downhill a little bit towards the tail end of the season. Where is your confidence level right now with the 2018 Irish?
My confidence scale of 1 to 10 is probably a 6 right now, because I've seen this story at quarterback so many times that until I can get some semblance of that spot, I'm going to go with the fact that I think the biggest loss this offseason for them had less to do. Listen, 2 consensus All-American offensive linemen on your left side is tough to replace. Mm-hmm. Your offensive line coach, Harry Heastam, that had coached 3 first-round prospects, 4 first-round prospects, and a handful of other high draft picks, is even harder to replace. And, Jeff Quinn, who's the offensive line coach now, is going to do a great job. He's known Coach Kelly for a long time, and being around there this spring, it sounds like guys have taken to him really well, but it's just a difference in identity that I have to see before I'm going to be as fully comfortable with as I was what I know Harry was bringing to the table each and every week. So as you replace some of those bodies and that coaching mentality there, I think it's even more important to figure out, all right, are we going to go with Brandon or are we going to go with Eli for this fall as our starting quarterback, and really commit to that and commit to making sure you're now giving them the camp reps to grow. That was one thing. Brandon did a great job as a runner, but never really made the progress as a passer last season that we needed. And so I think as many reps as you can give him in camp are going to be really helpful if that's going to be the guy you go with, because you're right. You're going to have an experienced defense. You're going to bring back some other weapons on offense, especially at the receiver spot and in the running back room. So I think ironing out that position, as always, is paramount, but it's something we just haven't been able to really solidify since Coach Kelly walked on campus.
Mike Golic Jr., thank you very much for your time. I felt like I learned a ton about you, both physically and spiritually and calorically. It was a privilege. And I look forward to having you back and learning about you as a coffee napper. This is very exciting.
Oh, man, I would say we connected on a deep level. The Pensacola, the coffee nap, I am taking a lot home from this, and I can't wait to report back this fall as we march on into a brave new world where I am much more energized than my college football Saturdays.
Oh, I love it. We'll talk again soon. Much appreciated. There he is. There he goes. Always a thrill to have somebody new on the show and have it turn out to be fun and interesting and illuminating. I think we learned a lot about each other. I think we now know the best peanut butter sandwich eater in the history of the Solid Verbal podcast. Probably. We'll check in with Jeff Schwartz and see if he has any stories. But thank you again to Mike Golic Jr. Do check him out on Twitter. mGolic Jr. 57, I believe, is the handle, for being such a good sport online and does really fun work for ESPN. Some housekeeping real quick before I let you go. solidverbal.com for any information you may need about the show. Follow us at Solid Verbal on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Just look up Solid Verbal. You will find us. I guarantee you will find us if you search Solid Verbal on Facebook. You can follow me at Dan Rubenstein. You can follow Ty at Ty Hildenbrandt. We will be back next week. I promise you, I would not lead you astray. That's not who I am. And maybe we get shots of Ty's new studio. That'd be pretty cool. So thank you. Thank you for listening. It's always a pleasure. It's mid-May. We're excited to eventually do previews this summer. We have a bunch of fun non- and college football shows to get to. Bill Barnwell will be back probably in a couple months to do a new off-season, off-topic episode. And throw us a 5-star review. iTunes.com/solidverbal. Apple Podcasts, Solid Verbal. It really does help. But in the meantime, for Ty Hildenbrandt, for Mike Golic Jr., everybody out there, stay solid and peace.